What's up guys, we are here in Olapole. We drove from Sky yesterday and we went out this morning for a quick sunrise shoot and we had some audio problems, so I'll show you guys the pictures we got this morning. There's a little waterfall we saw on the side of the road, so here are the photos right now. All right, so we didn't do a whole lot of location scouting here, so that's kind of what we're doing today.
Yeah, I think we go to Stag Polly, which is a few miles here up the road north, and see what you're going to get for tomorrow for sunrise.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna scout for sunrise tomorrow, also maybe for something for sunset tonight. And we want to talk about basic landscape photography settings, kind of how we set up our cameras when we go to shoot, maybe a couple of different scenes we can do to show you guys kind of how we go about choosing our settings and stuff like that. So let's go. Alright guys, well we just, I think we found a good spot. We were just driving around. Like I said, we didn't do a lot of scouting before we came out here, so we got to this spot. We kind of pull up the side of the road and you can see the Stag Polly behind us. There's some power lights coming across. We have to get on the other side of that so we can get that out of the frame. But you got some streams, a river right here, kind of leading up to the point of Stag Polly up there. Can't see it from here, I don't think, but there's a tree right over here that Chris is loving already, so you know she's gonna be shooting that thing. And then, yeah, just a lot of cool foregrounds, some wildflowers in here, so a lot of possibilities right here. I think we're just gonna stay here for a while and shoot, so yeah, let's get to shooting.
Okay guys, I'm going to show you how I photograph this tree. So what I do first, after I set up my composition, I place the tree to the far right corner of my frame. I'll probably do a crop, 5x4 crop. So what I did now, I was focusing on the aperture first, so I'm now on aperture 5.6 because I want the tree to be sharp, because it's the main subject of my photo, and I want the background to be a little bit blurry. So that's why I chose aperture 5.6. That brings me to shutter speed for about 30th of a second. So yeah, I'll now try to make this shot with aperture 5.6 and then try maybe a little bit lower, like 5 or even 4, and then I decide in post which one I'm going to edit. I do manual focus on the tree, so here on the back of my screen I zoom in to the tree, make sure it's sharp. As you can see, the branches are moving a little bit, which means there is some kind of wind going on, so I don't want it too long of an exposure. So I'm on a 2-second timer just to make sure my camera isn't moving because I just touched it. So I'm on the long lens now on my 70-200 and my ISO is at 100. So there's enough light now that I can go to the lowest ISO possible, which is 100 for my Canon camera.
Alright guys, so as you can see from the drone footage and from where I'm standing here, we have decided to come to the Caribbean island to shoot the second part of this video. Just kidding, we're still in Scotland. You can always tell because there's no sun. Alright, so anyway, part of the video, what I want to talk about here is determining your shutter speed. Now, when I'm shooting waves like this, The most important thing is my shutter speed. The aperture is whatever it's going to be. I'm going to show you guys how I determine everything right now. Now I'm using the matrix meter mode, which is what my camera's doing is it's using the light meter to read the entire scene, and then it's showing me on the histogram what it's reading. So what I'm looking at here is I'm watching the waves. I want about a 1 second exposure as the waves are coming in. And what that's going to do is that's going to blur and have a little bit of motion in the water. Putting on now, I have a couple of filters on here. I'm not going to get too much into filters because I have a complete video. I'm going to link to you guys at the end of this video. So watch that if you guys want to learn all about filters. I'll link that at the very end. Now, I have a couple of filters on here. I have a circular polarizer and a grad filter because the light from the sky is a little bit brighter than it is from the foreground here, from the ocean. So just in order to get my exposure close, in other words, in order to get the light from the sky and the light from the foreground to be just close to even as I can get it, I used an ND filter, a graduated ND filter. But here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the histogram. So I'm going to show you here on the back of my camera. I have a 2 second exposure, but you can see on the histogram here, I'm not clipping any highlights, which means I'm not overexposing anywhere. This is what I want. So 2 seconds, f9. I'm at my base ISO of 64, which is the lowest it'll go, and I'm going to keep it at that pretty much indefinitely. And now, I very rarely ever change my ISO when I'm shooting landscape unless I'm doing astrophotography or I'll take a shot here while we're doing that. So 2 second timer, and yeah, perfect. So now what's happening is as the waves retreat or the waves are coming in, they're creating leading lines. So they're coming in, and I'm hitting my shutter and timing it to where they come in, and I'm using the waves as leading lines, bringing your eye into the photo, and I'm focusing about 1/3 into the scene. At f9, everything is going to be in focus. I'm using, the best depth of field, your best aperture for shooting landscapes is between f8 and f11. That's going to create everything in focus from front to back as much as possible because I don't have anything in the immediate foreground. Now, if you have anything close, I'm shooting with a wide angle. So anything within maybe 4 to 5 feet, if there was something closer than that, I would have to focus differently. But since since everything is pretty far away, at least 5 feet away, I'm using f9 and a 2 second shutter speed, and that's giving me the proper exposure, and I'm just letting it rip. All right, guys, real quickly before I get washed away, what I've done here is I'm at 1/3 of a second, f6.3. Now what happened here is it's still too dark. I still couldn't get what I needed to. So then I had to bump up the ISO, actually up to 640. That's the only time I ever move up the ISO is if I can't get the settings I want, if it's still too dark when I'm doing this. Now what's going on here is the waves are coming in and they're splashing up in here, as you guys can see. And the reason why I like the 1/3 of a second is it shows a little bit of motion, but it's still enough to have that long exposure, that really nice smooth long exposure. 1/3 of a second is one of my favorite shutter speeds when shooting waves, especially around rocks because of that. You guys, I don't know if you guys can see, it's still too dark. I put my shutter on continuous high. As the waves come in and go out, I just sit there and I just hold on my shutter button and just let the waves come in, let them go out, and I'm holding the shutter button the entire time. And then later on in post, I can find out which shots I like the best. And yeah, that's it, guys. So that's gonna be it. Give me a second here. Let me get out of here, and then I'll talk to you guys in just a second. All right, guys, well, I hope you learned something from this. I tried to just kind of show you guys a little bit of what we go through as far as selecting our settings and kind of how we go about shooting a scene. So that's going to be it for this video. So our next video is probably going to be from Switzerland. We're going to back to Basel where Chris lives, and then going to explore the Alps. So stay tuned for that. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.